Hello, everybody. Welcome, Moody Gooners. It's an incredible day. Arsenal, 24 hours after the game, we've absolutely hammered PSV, and today we're gonna, go back and dissect a little bit of what's going on. My name is Jason, and with me, as always, is Paul. How you doing, Paul?
Very good, very good. Very happy after last night.
Yeah, brilliant. Before we get into it, just a little bit of housekeeping. So we're an unofficial Arsenal podcast with a little bit of a lean on sort of mental health, to bring awareness around that, something both close to our hearts. So, so we dissect the game, we go over and review things. And if you like that sort of stuff, then please remember to like, subscribe, send us your comments, and we'll get back to you. So let's jump into it. How are you feeling, Paul, about the whole thing? You buzzing?
Yeah, good. I mean, I was at the game last night, and it was just a wonderful occasion. It's one of those things, isn't it? I think like we all laughed at the time about the fourth place trophy, getting in the Champions League every season. But the sort of I was so buzzing going to the game just to kind of even just see the stadium kitted out with all the branding and just kind of feel the sort of atmosphere. And yes, getting in the Champions League every year and not winning it or getting close to winning it's not where I want to be as a fan. My standards, I'd say, are pretty high, but it was wonderful being back there and sort of experiencing that, and you could just feel the energy in the crowd and the players. Like it was that was kind of the magic for me. It was just like when you go to like a random Premier League game, you think it doesn't kind of have that kind of level of buzz and excitement, and obviously the performance on the pitch sort of helped it live up to all the expectations, really. So yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it was amazing just to see that flag in the center, the shaking, the music playing and stuff. It's like we're back, and wow, we were back in some style after that performance. Breathless performance, just incredible. And I'm still, you can probably tell I'm still buzzing right now for it. It's just unbelievable that we've effectively just dismantled PSV and made them look really, really average. And no mean feat after I think they hadn't lost in 26 games, I think it was. So I mean, I know they're a Dutch team and they play in the Dutch league, but to bring that to an end in that sort of fashion was quite something. So brilliant. What I mean, the atmosphere, you say it was buzzing, yeah. People.
It was so good. I mean, I got in the ground really early because of the rain. I got to the ground. I started walking towards the club shop. I thought, you know what, it's jacking down with rain here. I'm just going to go in the ground, have something to eat, and kind of be with. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans were kind of in the ground enjoying live music. And sort of like enjoying the atmosphere because of the weather. But yeah, you could really, to be honest, you could really sense it. You could really feel the kind of the excitement around the game. And when they actually did the shaking of the banner before the game started, almost in unison, the entire crowd just whipped up into this roar of sort of approval. It kind of felt a bit strange around roaring, cheering UEFA. When you think about what an evil organisation they are, but I think it was just the buzz of the obviously being in the Champions League and the excitement of seeing those players out there with the big banner being shaken. Everyone's it just kind of like focused everyone on it I think into what was about to unfold. So yeah, brilliant night. Wonderful. I think I got trench foot. The tube station after.
I mean, fair play. The weather was biblical last night, so biblical that I was watching it in a pub and the satellite feed went down with 20 minutes or so left because I don't know. It was I'd never known anything like it, the rain. But so anyway, lineup. What did we think? Surprising news came through. David Raya started instead of Ramsdale. Not many people called that.
Yeah, I think the two bits of the lineup where people maybe were sort of questioning, I mean, myself included, was probably Fabio Vieira. I kind of fancied him to get a start, given that we were playing in Europe against potentially a slightly lesser team from a slightly second-tier league. I thought, more of a technical game, less need for physicality. Maybe we'll get Fabio Vieira on there to kind of have the ball in midfield and sort of get on the ball and sort of play his sort of way. So I was a little bit surprised he didn't play, to be honest, particularly after starting at Goodison Park.
Yeah.
But obviously the elephant in the room is the David Raya thing. I mean, for me, I personally was a bit shocked, but I also wasn't at the same time, because I think the narrative before the game was, we'll give Raya the Everton game, but Ramsdale's. I think there's been almost like a sensitive kind of human lens being placed over it by Arsenal fans in many ways, because we're saying, well, Ramsdale got us in the Champions League last season. I'm sure that he's got, but I don't think that's how necessarily we should be thinking, and how Arteta certainly doesn't think that way. He's probably thinking, well, I need to choose the goalkeeper that's right for this game. Because let's be honest, when we break it all down, why do we go to football? We go to football to be entertained and to watch us win games and trophies.
Yeah.
Now, essentially, I want whatever that looks like to get us to that end game. I'm broadly all right with it. I mean, if he starts picking Raya for 5 games in a row and then he's chucking one in every other game, and he's still picking him, probably similar to Havertz, had a few shaky games. People are kind of looking at him going, why is he still picking him? Why is he? I think we can be. I mean, I personally think Ramsdale was a bit unlucky to be dropped to begin with, but I was quite excited when I saw Raya chosen. So I wanted to I was at the Brentford game last season at home, and I thought he had a great game then, to be honest, as we were sort of piling forward towards the end to try and find that winner, and in that match. But I was I was fine with it, to be honest. I was quite surprised Havertz started, though, I must say. But I thought he had he didn't. I thought he was kind of understated in many ways, but I thought he had a decent enough game. I think he kind of got better as the game, went on. I kind of felt he played better in a false 9, actually, but almost more than he did in midfield. But other than that, the lineup didn't really surprise me, I would say. How about yourself? What were your sort of?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised by it. I mean, just to kind of go onto that subject just quickly, I think this is it. We've got to take the emotion out of the situation, and I think what Arteta is doing is the right thing, but it also, because we're an emotional bunch of people, football fans. It does, when you grow attached to a player that has sort of come in and has been part of that sort of, that sound basis for us to progress in the way that we have over the last, couple of years or so. You almost feel a little bit like it's a slight on yourself, so you get attached to it. But I think this is the thing, we've got to be realistic if we want to reach those next levels. There are the stats sort of back up the fact that Raya does have. I remember the Sky Sports over the weekend. The XG, it was like -4 for Ramsdale and 5 plus 5.8. There was like almost like a 10-point swing in it, and it's like, you can't deny if that's the situation, and that's we need to be making sure that we're making the right decision going forward. And unfortunately, that means that Ramsdale may see less game time, and so be it. I mean, I think he's good enough to be a number 1 for sure, for a club, but maybe that isn't going to be us. Maybe, I don't know, the way Man United go, and maybe they come in for him in the summer.
But you remember, like, when Arteta first took over, Martinelli couldn't get a game for love nor money, and people go, why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? And now, like, if you were to pick Arsenal's starting 11, all being fit, you'd have him as your wide left player. So it can change at the end of the day. I mean, it really can. And I must admit, I think the reason there's a lot of chatter at the moment is because we're almost learning game by game what Arteta's real motive is. I think earlier in the week he was talking about maybe picking player, the idea of maybe subbing a goalie off during the 90 minutes for tactical reasons or performance reasons, which I think would be, I've never really seen that happen, to be honest. But I think now Raya's pretty much must be locked in for the North London derby. With Arteta, you just never know. I mean, my personal feeling is he wanted to sign Raya before, we couldn't get it done. There was an opportunity to get him for a really cheap loan fee. And I think if Arteta had his time again 2 years ago or whatever, he probably would have got Raya in ahead of Ramsdale. Ramsdale probably never would have ended up playing for Arsenal, but I think he's seen an opportunity this summer and thought, well, you know what, he's still a goalkeeper that I really, really wanted before. He was probably his number one target. So he's just got his number one target 2 years down the line. But to your point, I mean, Ramsdale is such a great player, but he's also a great guy. I mean, I noticed yesterday at the stadium when they do the little video sequences with the gay gooners and talking about discrimination in the stadium, the one Arsenal player that they've actually got on that thing is Ramsdale, sort of talking his piece to camera, talking about, report it. It's not great, discrimination and abuse and da da da. So, like, he's almost like he's so kind of present, off the pitch as well. When you think about the interviews you see with him, and and let's not beat around the bush. He's still a really good goalkeeper as well. I can't see him coming back for the foreseeable future though until. Admittedly, I don't think Raya's been overworked in either game, to be honest. I mean, he had a lot more to do last night,
hasn't it? Both games that he's come in. He's just looked solid, and it's been quite easy for him, I think. Really,
there was this one sort of play out from the back that he did. It's sort of one of those sidewinder ones that went quite low, fizzed into the front line in the second half, and all the crowd just went, "Oh, bloody hell!" like that. He sort of did this like a really low, long kick out that went straight to feet into one of our strikers, and the crowd was sort of like chuntering to each other, going, "Oh, well, this is brilliant." So I think the crowd are now sort of going, I think last night they kind of started to see why we're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, then just coming back to Havertz, I mean, I think personally, I mean, I've had a bee in my bonnet about Havertz, over the last few weeks, but I think he had probably his best game in an Arsenal jersey so far. And I think part of that is probably to do with the fact that he didn't really have much choice, because every single player last night turned up, and it just, like how we were speaking, like in the last few weeks, like it just hasn't really clicked. We're waiting for that moment. And that I believe that moment happened last night. I think it just clicked. Every player showed up, and they had the bit between the teeth. But not only did they have the determination, they could back it up with the quality. And I think the weather played a part in that. The way that the ball was zipping off the off the pitch, the quick pass in the movement, and so I think Havertz got sort of dragged along with it, and he didn't really have much choice.
What did you particularly like about Havertz's performance? I'm just kind of curious what you saw that was different.
There was a bit more about him. I could see, like, there was, like, as an example, that the second half there was that deft little chip towards the near post for Jesus. He was a bit more busy and a bit more, there was a bit more desire, I felt, in his performance to sort of to try and get on the ball and to make something happen, rather than the lackluster sort of, almost like, it doesn't, the languid sort of style that he has. I just thought there was a bit more to him last night, and I thought, okay, all right, fair play, you've done your bit. I mean, I could see when Vieira came on as well towards the end of the second half, I could see also there was a spark there, and I think all of this is good, because what it's doing is creating that competition, and so there are very few players that are nailed on to start, and there's some, you've got to earn your place, and I like that, that depth that we've now got is now spurring players on to try and perform on a weekly basis. Havertz got dropped, and rightly so, and I think he had a point to prove last night, to sort of say, hey, no, I'm still here, sort of thing. So it was good. Jesus came in well. Oh, sorry, carry on.
No, that's what I was going to say. The other bit about the lineup for me was Jesus getting.
We thought
that was his first start of the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we've been sort of nurturing and sort of making sure he didn't get too injured, but he started. I think we saw.
I was really pleased to see him start, to be honest. I think it was a good game. Again, I keep seeming to be shitting all over the Eredivisie here, but I think, when you're playing in the group stage of the Champions League, it is a step down from the average Premier League game. So I think it was actually a good game to bring him back in, and I thought he had a great game, to be honest. I think he's all what he brings to the team is superb. Like the work rate, an absolute pest to play against.
Busy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's busy. He's getting his body in the way. He's making a nuisance. He's chasing lost causes. His touch was superb. His link-up play was superb. And what's great now is like he suddenly looks like he's going to score. I mean, obviously he did score last night, but he looks like he's now ready to start scoring. I mean, you referenced before the Havertz little poked through ball in the second half. There was one in the first half where he rolled the ball back. This is before he scored in the first half and forced the save out of Benitez. So he's had a good few efforts on goal there, and he looked up for it, but his
looks sharp.
I think what's interesting, I think when I try and compare Nketiah and Balogun, part of the reason I'm surprised we stuck with, I know people want something different, but to me, what Balogun does as a team's a little bit closer to what Jesus does. Whereas sometimes I do look at Nketiah and I go, you're a penalty box poacher, and I think I don't know if that it almost seems to go against the grain of what we're trying to do and how we like to play as a team. Whereas when you've got these selfless players like Trossard on there and Jesus, and everyone's first thought is almost trying to feed an opponent and feed a teammate and help someone else to score. Whereas Nketiah sort of almost goes against the grain. I mean, again, I appreciate we need something different, but
I know exactly what you mean, because with Jesus, it all just sort of fits and it's all very fluid and it works. You put Nketiah in there, and it's like it's like that sort of square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't quite work, does it? It's like it's a little bit disjointed, and you almost have to feed him for him to have the impact. Whereas the other ones, they sort of they change position with each other. They sort of it's all on the same wavelength. I thought it was brilliant. I mean, what did you think for the? I mean, well, I'm going to wax lyrical now about this. It's just going to run out of superlatives, I reckon, into this one. What did you think of the sort of how we sort of started off?
I thought it was completely different to what we've done this season so far. To be honest, I mean, what we've been doing this season. I mean, with Everton, the Everton game, with the first whistle went, and we just said thank you very much. We'll have the ball, and we're playing at our pace, and it felt very slow, patient build up, almost in that knowledge that we'll get there in the end. But what I loved about this is we came out on the front foot, purposeful. I think the atmosphere did kind of, and the occasion did actually kind of help the players with this as well. I think the fans were really up for it. The energy was right. And I just felt it was refreshing again to see us kind of get on the front foot at home and try and really go for the jugular straight from the off. And I think when you get the early goal that we did get, it really does just kind of like set your stall out nicely. I sort of struggled to really think too much recently about early goals we've got inside the first 10 minutes. I'm not even sure if we've even got. We seem to concede a lot of goals at home quite early on, like Fulham game, for example. But it was nice for us to like really come out on the front foot and then get our reward with a goal by Saka after the 8th minute, which was great. What were your sort of thoughts on the start?
I loved it. I loved it. Was just sort of, it was so bright, so it was zippy, and it was just, they had so much energy about it, and it was fast flowing, and it was like liquid poetry. It was almost Wenger-esque. He'd have been proud of that sort of the way that we were pinging it about. It felt like we'd found our identity again, and the way that we play, and it set the tone, and that's what I want going forward, because we've been waiting for this to happen. We all knew we had it. We played a lot like this last season, and it's like it just hasn't clicked so far in the few games that we've had so far. So I'm hoping that this sets the tone, because if we can play like this, on Sunday and going forward, then Tottenham beware, because I think we will wipe the floor with them if we play like this on Sunday.
I think a lot of the discourse online has been around something that I'm about to say now, which I definitely do believe is true. When you've watched pretty much every single game we've played this season so far, we've come up against a low block. I mean, even I've never seen a team at home play a low block against us, and Everton did that at Goodison Park. So this is probably the first game where I felt that PSV, what you call it, naive if you like, but PSV did actually kind of come and try and put one. I mean, they had a shot on target within the first minute, bit of a tame effort coming in from the left, but they were not playing low block. I mean, again, you can argue it's up to us to break down the low block, but it was actually quite a nice game to watch, even if you're a neutral, because they came to have a bit of a go. We looked expansive and exciting, and it does kind of make a few questions be posed for Sunday, I think, around like how Spurs might set up against us. But I would say it's the first time this season where we've come up against a team that's actually tried to play a game of football against us, and I think that kind of maybe a slightly foolish tactic, I would say, particularly in the first half of a game, maybe grow into the game and start to do that. But it kind of made for quite a nice open spectacle.
I loved the goal as I'm. 6-year absence, and then Saka gets the goal. It was just for him to get it as well. It's like he represents everything that we are as a club currently, and it's wonderful that he's the person that got that goal. The poster boy of the club. It was wonderful. Odegaard, great little shot as well. I think Odegaard. I mean, for me, he probably. I mean, I think Saka got man of the match at the end, but I think Odegaard for me was just. I mean, wow. I'm lost for words. That man. He epitomizes everything that every player should be, and he leads by example. He just the sheer will and determination to make things happen, to get that ball, to make the space, to make the pass, to have the shot. It's just it's so refreshing, and you're just like, oh, it's incredible to see. It's infectious. It's wonderful to see.
Yeah, and he's got the talent, but he's also got the will and the work rate. I love how he plays like a humble guy almost. Who if there's so many players across the world who've got so much talent and they don't have anywhere near that level of application. So for me, he's a really good message to send out there. If you're a good player and you're going to put in 110% every single game. I couldn't believe how much he was charging around. I was actually kind of watching going, I almost wanted him to slow down a bit, because we sort of started taking a lot of our players off and giving them a rest for Sunday. But he was the constant out there. And he was, I swear, in the last 10 minutes, he probably covered more ground than the rest of the game combined, because he would not stop running and closing down. And one minute he was on one side of the pitch, and then he was on the other, and he was dictating through the middle. And actually, I was thinking, a little bit of me was thinking, just slow it down a little bit. Like, we're 4-0 up. I love watching this. I love the way you're playing, but I don't. He was running like a bloody, like a madman last night in the end, and it was good stuff.
Yeah.
But without sounding, don't want to be negative, but I was thinking, I don't want you to get too.
I know you don't want to get injured
ahead of Sunday, because it was nice to see Arteta. I know we're jumping ahead a bit here, but he made some key substitutions before even the hour mark, and I was quite sad to see some of the players go off, because you want to sort of like pay your money and you want to see the top players. But it was nice to see Saka get a bit of a rest. Nice to see Jesus not be burnt out. Zinchenko's prone to injury, and he was taken off as well. So that was quite good. And but Odegaard charging around. He was playing as if we were 0-0 trying to find a winner. It was actually quite impressive.
It's
it just gets better and better.
His work rate. I got to say, I think he's probably one of the best sort of attacking midfielders, if not the best, in the Premier League right now. I can't see. I mean, you'd argue that Kevin De Bruyne might be, but I think Kevin De Bruyne, he's out injured at the moment, and he's probably on the bit of a decline. I'd say when he comes back, maybe. It's going to take him a while. I think Odegaard would get that spot now as the sort of best, if you like, attacking player from a midfield perspective. I think
he is. I mean, you tell me someone who's influencing.
No, I don't.
The consistent level of performance and he's now adding product to his game. Like when he first joined Arsenal, he was a connecting player. He was someone who kind of got on the ball, led by example, but kind of like connected play, playing cute little passes. But now he's actually adding decisive passes and finishing to his game. And and he's always had the work rate, but he's now adding that product, which is fantastic. So what a player!
Yeah, and what about this player, Leandro Trossard? In fact, all four of the sort of attacking players that started last night, they all have a shout for being man of the match, because I mean, Trossard, he's not really had much of a sniff up until the Everton game for the season, and he's come into the Everton game. He's got the decisive goal there, but this, I mean, his goal, I mean, the technique alone, my mind is blown. The vision and execution to pick that spot, it was like pinpoint accuracy. That finish. I mean, you must have seen the replay. I mean, you obviously were there, but he left the goalie no chance, absolutely no chance. Shot accuracy, the power, it was just incredible. And then the build-up play as well. I was just out. It was outrageous. The little turn from Jesus in the centre of the park.
Yeah.
And then the counter feeding Saka, and then the vision and the sort of anticipation for Trossard to sort of not run into the box, but to sort of come back a little bit deep to the sort of edge of the box and then steer the ball in. Oh, just outrageous play. I
absolutely. I mean, I've loved him, to be honest, when he was playing at Brighton, but I think he's a superb footballer. I mean, he offers something obviously very different. I think on the eye, you look at Martinelli and the way he plays with that flair and that energy, gets people excited, gets people going. But I'll probably say that at the moment, and actually in pre-season as well, Trossard, he's actually got more actual end product. I mean, one thing I would say about Martinelli, he's a little bit less consistent than Trossard. Like he scores in little kind of clusters of games. He looks really hot for a period, and then he's always still working, always still trying. Sometimes he kind of gets into the box and doesn't quite get that final action right. But what I noticed about Trossard is, I don't know if it's coming with experience or he's just in a good vein of form, but whenever Trossard gets in and around the box, his decision making, he knows when to shoot. He knows when to hang across up to the far post. He knows when to hold on to the ball and wait for runners to join him. And he's got the two-footedness. But I'm going to say that he's probably our best player technically. It's probably a bit of a bold statement, but for me, when I think about like his touch, his control, his technique, the way he finishes and shoots, I don't really see too many better players. I reckon he's probably our best finisher, to be honest with you. He's quite lethal when he gets in front of goal. He doesn't really put shots high and wide, and he's always working the keeper, and he's very, very efficient. The way he is a little bit like Saka in some sort of respects, not quite as eye-catching, but very, very efficient about what he does. But yeah, brilliant goal. The technique. Not as hard a goal, I would say, to score as the one he scored on the weekend at Everton, but the way he's kind of controlled, the best players for me are the ones who don't really put their foot for it, but they almost kind of controlled finish, like side foot, firm sort of pass into the corner, giving the goalkeeper no chance. First time finish.
That finish, it hit the side, it hit the inside of the side netting, and you just, from the angle that he's at, it's almost like he's put. I mean, it's not even possible. I don't think it's just unbelievable. I mean, fabulous stuff. I'm going to watch the highlights again after this. It's just, I can stick it on repeat. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
The tone was set at that point. After that, and then there was the Jesus chance where the little step overs, and he sent the defender the wrong way to create that space. And then he had that curling effort, and it was, if that had gone in, it just would have been, incredible. But yeah, I mean, then
great feat, wasn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. And then he got his reward then, with a fabulous strike and finish, and again, great work from Trossard. That sort of what I loved about it was that he didn't just, some players, they'd get the ball over the top, they're there, there's the space, and they would just blasted across. What I love is that and this is something I think that a lot of players don't have that he does, is it's football intelligence.
Yeah.
he waits and he's looking. He's got the time. You know, great players, they always seem to have time with the ball. And you could see that he was like, right, I'm not going to blast it across or ping it across and hope that somebody runs in on the end of it. I'm going to wait. I've got the ball. And he picked his man out, you know, pinpoint pass. And then the control from Jesus, the backspin as well. And then the foot going, it's unbelievable. It was just outrageous. Yeah. You just thrashed it.
You stole the words out of my mouth about Trossard, because he has a glance. He looks up and, I don't mean to sort of drag him under the bus here, but Kieran Tierney, if that was in his, he would have just fired that across the 6-yard box and almost like a bit of a hit and hope. But football these days is played to such a high level that you can't do that. You've got to know the pass, and you've got to be able to execute a range of different crosses, whether it's whipping it in front of the defender as a player runs onto it, or hanging one up, or getting close to goal and trying to cut back. It's all about, again, just knowing, sensing what the opportunity. And actually, he probably had more space to run into if he wanted to, but he's had a glance up. He's seen Jesus at the far post, and he's just hung that ball up beautifully. And there's something really aesthetically nice, isn't there, about the way Jesus controls the ball with the underside of his boot, and then the stars on that Champions League ball sort of spinning back, and then he's just literally just crashed straight through it. And
wonderful finish.
Yeah, beautiful finish. And Jesus is one of these kind of players where I always worry about, does he have the goals in him for a number 9? Because he's obviously got the all-round game. So whenever he scores or looks threatening, I can always sleep a little bit easier at night. So I know, right, our number 9 is scoring goals, and he's doing it for the team as well. And that's the hard thing about his game, I think, sometimes, that if he has a really good game, puts himself around, presses high, wins the ball, makes a nuisance of himself, we get chances as a result of it, but we end up, fluffing our lines a bit in front of goal, and sometimes it's hard to justify. But his all-round game last night was good. He looked like a goal threat. He worked hard, and again, he was linking play with. I think it's no surprise that our 4 front players all scored last night. I do kind of wonder, if Nketiah had started, would we have won 4-0?
I was going to say,
and would we have had a goal each from? It's really satisfying when you get 1 goal each from like half your team, almost, and it was nice to see.
So on that, so here's a point, or a point for discussion. So when Gabriel Jesus plays, I know forwards are judged on their goal output, but when he plays, are we saying that he amplifies the players around him and brings them more into the game and opens their ability to get on the score sheet? Whereas if you have an Nketiah playing, the rest of the players are sort of almost trying to feed him to score, and he doesn't have the same impact on those players around him. So
I agree. And I also think it's possibly easier for the other team to set up against us in that case, because when teams come up against us when Nketiah is in, they're saying, well, if we can stop the supply to Nketiah, we know they're not going to shoot from distance. We know they're going to try and get to the byline and cut the ball back and try and. But with Jesus, he kind of drops deep, and then you get
pulls
Saka running on, and Trossard almost occupies a higher position up the pitch, and the hard thing for Nketiah is if he doesn't score, you almost go, he's had a bad game then. Whereas with Jesus, if we win 2-0 and he doesn't score, but he plays like he does last night, but say Trossard and Saka scored, you'd go, oh, he was brilliant last night, because he plays in such a way that he offers so much. But I totally agree. I mean, I think if you look at Nketiah's got quite a good record of late in terms of goals to games, but you really did notice last night Jesus playing, like what kind of a level up he is in terms of an all round forward. And for me, if he's going to score like he did last night and look like a bit more of a goal threat, there was that period last season when he didn't score leading into the World Cup, got injured when he came out, he couldn't score, and everyone was like, oh my God, is he ever going to bloody score again? But last night, I would say for me, he would probably be a very close second to Odegaard as the man of the match for me. So I think his all-round game was brilliant. You know, he's just come back from a knee procedure, and he's putting in. I was almost wanting to go a little bit, again, just kind of ease off the gas a bit and ease his way. But he only really has one gear. It's either injured or, you know, he operates at 110 miles an hour. So I guess that's what you're going to get with him. But he's a joy to watch. He really is. He's got so much to his game.
Do you think he starts on Sunday now, given the performance?
I do. Yeah, I do. I think as well, like, he was substituted after about an hour as well, so he's had a bit of a rest, so he's going to be relatively fresh. And actually, what I liked about what Arteta did yesterday, he could have easily started with Nketiah and given Jesus like a nice, easy, lazy 20-25 minutes at the end of a game. But what I liked about it is, you know, he's given him 69 minutes and then of like high intensity, and still rest him for the last 20. But he's going to come into that game Sunday now feeling like maybe not 100% kind of, you know, in the form of his life, but he's going to feel really ready for a game like this now, I think, because I'm much more of a fan of like starting a player and then if they're tired or you need to rest them, take them off later rather than just feed them on into a game with his tiring legs. I think it's going to set him up so much better for a North London derby than coming on against, you know, PSV, who would have been 3-0 down at that point, you know, and sort of tiring and not really at the races. I don't think Jesus really, that would have given him the sufficient kind of workout that he would have needed, really, or a tuning up for this game on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we were playing anybody else, if we were playing like a sort of mid-table team, well, mind you, we are sort of playing a mid-table team. I think maybe he would start with Nketiah, but given the sort of magnitude, I guess, of the game, that I think, you know, he will go with Jesus.
I think so.
So half-time, game is wrapped up, done, 3-0. We've played them off the park. You know, the expansive play just, you know, they just had no answer to it. Second half, in my view, much like the first half, but by that point, PSV were just out of it. They'd been blown away. So. You know,
I actually did feel in the first half there were quite a few times where I wouldn't say I was sitting there nervous thinking they were going to beat us or anything, but there were quite a few occasions in the first half where I think Declan Rice probably had one of his weaker games. Some of his passing was a bit, he looked a little bit jaded for whatever reason. And there were a few times in the first half where they were able to kind of play through the lines. The guy actually next to me went, "Oh, they're playing through the lines," and you could see they were kind of getting joy down their left-hand side a little bit.
Yeah.
I noticed Ben White was backing off a few times when Dest and Lang were combining. So I don't think we were defensively really that like amazing in the first half. But what I liked about the second half is we had the 3-goal buffer. We sort of took our foot off the gas a little bit more. I think we managed the game really well. You could see the players were really determined to get that clean sheet, that elusive home clean sheet that has eluded us for many games. So I felt second half that we dialed it back a little bit. Still looked like I think we still played well. I don't think we completely threw the towel in from an attacking perspective, but I think we just had one eye on kind of keeping the back door solid, not conceding an early goal, and then obviously, you know, we started to see those. I think the subs were good. I think they all kind of contributed as well.
Yeah, I think great set of subs. I think the timing was right. I think game management was spot on. You know, nice to see Nelson get some minutes as well. He looked lively when he came on. Tommy as well. I like this sub. You know, they're sort of protecting Zinchenko a bit as well by bringing Tomiyasu on to sort of shore things up, because, you know, they've got the lead at that point and they're like, right, okay, we got 3-0. Can bring Tomiyasu on, shore up the defense a bit more, just like we did against Everton. I like that sub, and it's nice to, you know, get Nelson some minutes as well. You know, protect Trossard for the weekend. It was good. It was good. And then obviously Emile Smith-Rowe getting some minutes finally. Although, you know, you say,
oh my God, the atmosphere. I mean, the first thing I wanted to quickly touch on was Tomiyasu. I mean, watching him kind of come off the bench and go straight into that inverted position was made me kind of laugh in a way, because like, he's not he's not a silky on the ball in tight spaces. Zinchenko is actually one of the most enjoyable players to watch for me.
Yeah.
I love like,
Wonderful.
how the technical level and how he plays the game. He's such a talented guy. But it was funny to see Arteta kind of say, "Okay, we're going to move to a proper back four now." But as soon as Tomiyasu came in, he went straight into that midfield role, and he did one sort of long pass along the floor that got cut out. I remember and thinking, "Oh, that's good to see you trying to upskill in that area." But it was a bit of a drop down. I thought Reece Nelson looked really lively. To be honest, I thought he looked sharp. And as soon as Smith Rowe was called back from the touchline from where he was warming up, the crowd just went. It was almost the same volume as when the Champions League banner came up before the game. The whole crowd went, and then they started singing the Saka and Smith Rowe song. So yeah, and then when he took his training top off, and then the crowd cheered again. You could hear the fans were really kind of like were really, really, really supportive of Smith Rowe. Like, I feel like we sort of sent a message to Arteta, give him game time, basically.
I don't think I think he would be reliable. I think I don't see, if someone like Havertz and Vieira, if they're not on form or something, then why can't we play Smith Rowe, in that role? What's the problem with playing him there? Or now that Martinelli's out injured, maybe we play Smith Rowe wide left a little bit instead of a Trossard or something. I love the options, but I just want him to be given a bit of a chance. He had a good summer. He won the under-21 championship. He performed really well in that. He was a key component to their success. So I think he deserves it. And if he's training well, then just give him a chance. I don't think he's going to let us down. I really don't. You've got to think of the performances he's put in before when he's worn an Arsenal shirt. I think
you make a good point there about his versatility as well. Like, I think he can almost do stylistically something quite similar to what Martinelli does, and I think he can potentially, not stylistically but positionally, play in sort of a similar position to what Havertz does, but obviously in a more direct, ball carrying, hard running kind of style. And I was really excited to see him come off the bench, because I thought, we're crushing this game. It's in the bag already, and he's coming off the bench, tiring legs. He did look really rusty in terms of his touch and his technical level, but you could see he was playing like a man possessed. He was very keen to get on the ball, very keen to barge any PSV player off the ball, and kind of like really make himself kind of felt physically to send a message. But I don't know how much he's going to be used. I mean, hopefully this is the start of something where he can start to be fed in and played a bit more. I mean, if Martinelli's going to be out for another 3, depending on the severity of it. I mean, Arteta said more. They're trying to do more tests to understand, how much of a bad hamstring injury he's got. So that may well open the door. And to be honest, Leandro Trossard's a brilliant player. He really is, but he doesn't. There's certain, and it's not just stylistically either. There are certain kind of characteristics that Martinelli would have that a Trossard doesn't have, and there's certain characteristics that Trossard has that a Martinelli hasn't. And I think Smith Rowe is a player that we should be. I mean, he's got the ceiling to be as good as a Martinelli, hasn't he? But he just has to get his fitness, and it's the same with every player. He just has to get a run of games, even if it's like 20 minutes, half an hour each game off the bench to kind of get him going. I mean, I thought Reece Nelson looked a little bit more polished when he came off the bench. I think he looked a little bit more kind of his touch and the way he was moving and combining looked a bit more impressive. But yeah, great to see Smith Rowe come on. The crowd were excellent, to be honest, around the whole Smith Rowe thing, and they really do love him there, which is great.
I think he, in theory, he should be getting some games. League Cup, he should be starting that. And if we polish off, the qualification from this group, I could easily see him getting the last couple of games of the group at least, and hopefully he can start getting a bit of Premier League, game time under his belt as well. It'd be really nice to see. And as you say, if Martinelli's out, Trossard, there are some options there, and I just love the depth that we've now all of a sudden got. You looked at the bench last night, like, all right, there's some players there that can make a tangible difference and sort of come on and make an impact. It's been a long time coming because we just haven't had that. So yeah, it was really impressive, really impressive. And then obviously after the raft of changes, Odegaard finally got the goal he deserved and probably what he needed, really. And all the games leading up to this, I know he's been trying, he's been putting that shift in, but he just sort of needed one of these goals. It's a typical Odegaard goal, pinpoint accuracy, driven low. It was just fully deserved, and great to see him cap the performance with that goal. Thoughts?
Yeah. My main thought was, yes, I totally agree. But what was really nice is to see Smith Rowe and Nelson combining on the left to set the goal up. That was nice. You sort of the way they combined. Nelson ultimately with the assist, the technique. I mean, I saw Odegaard interviewed after the game. He said he had to take an extra touch because his first touch kind of went a bit to the side rather than. I think he wanted to get the ball out of his feet, rolling in front of him to then get the shot away. But his first touch kind of took him sideways a bit. So he said he took that second touch. But boy, was the technique good. It just sort of fizzed. It may have taken a slight touch, I think, off the defender's foot, but ever so slight nick. It wouldn't have changed the outcome of the goal in any way at all. But yeah, beautiful technique. A player again is just really at the top of his game at the moment. He looks in complete kind of zen control of how he plays the game, and that's his third goal of the season now in 6 games in all competitions. So excellent, brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant, good stuff. The rest of the game sort of, I don't think really much really happened after that. It was sort of cruise control from that point onwards, don't you think?
Yeah, we had Jorginho coming on for Rice and sort of like shored things up a little bit there, but the game sort of petered out. I would say it was just a very comfortable, and at the end they put the board up for 3 minutes at the end, which kind of tells you everything. We'd had about 74 substitutions, and there weren't many kind of players going down with injuries, but I think even the referee at the end has gone, you know what, this game's over. Let's get this thing blown, because I would have probably expected 5 minutes, or if that was in the Premier League, he probably would have had 6 or 7 minutes of extra time at the end.
And the rest.
But yeah, the 3 minutes I think was a real sign for me that it was done, and let's just get this game. Let's get this game sort of nipped in the bud, really. But yeah, nice comfortable victory in the end. I don't really know what else to say. I think that attacking wise, we started to really show. What we're about. I think the big criticism leading up to this game was that we'd obviously been putting points on the board, but very slow in build up. Very kind of patient, possession based, not a lot of goal threat. But what was nice last night is that we just stepped the tempo up a little bit, exactly to kind of the level that I, as a fan, again, I never want Arsenal to be tactically stupid or go gun ho when the moment's right. I don't mind us being cautious when we need to be, like, in game. I think sometimes our game management is probably one area where we could be a bit better, where knowing when to speed it up when we're on, Goodison Park, for example. There were times I was going, sense that we can put these guys to bed in the first. We could have been 2 or 3 up in the first half in that game if we really wanted to, but we just weren't creating the chances. We were playing as if 1-0 would have been good enough, and 1-0 can be good enough, but it's also on very fine margins. But what was nice about this game is that we came out, we looked kind of our old self from an attacking perspective. Lots of spark, lots of energy, lots of dynamism, players combining with each other. Everyone kind of you just got a real sense of enjoyment from the crowd. The players really were enjoying kind of playing together as well. So it was just a wonderful night.
Yeah, outstanding performance. I mean, once the first goal had gone in, PSV didn't stand a chance. I think it was all done. So, I mean, do you see the result from the other game as well? Lyon and Sevilla. That was a 1-1 draw. I think that one.
Yeah. And that's I mean, you probably say of the other 3 teams in our group, the team that's got the most, well, maybe they haven't got the most European pedigree because PSV have won the European Cup back in the day. But for me, Sevilla are the team to fear the most because they've got recent history in the Europa League. They've got a really strong atmosphere in their stadium. And Lens, you would say, statistically, they are probably the lowest ranked opposition. So to see the lowest ranked team take points away from home at basically, who I think are our rivals for that top spot. Obviously, a lot of games still to go, but Sevilla are going to feel pretty pissed off, I'd say, to be. They would have looked to that fixture and gone, we're at home in our first match. We're playing probably the weakest team in the group. This has got to be nailed on 3 points, but they're going to be walking away now thinking, God, dropping points just adds a little bit of pressure on them. If they drop points in another game, I think they'll be away probably to PSV next, I think. So, that's going to be a tough game for them, potentially. I mean, PSV at home might be a different proposition. And if PSV can nick a couple of points off Sevilla in the next game, maybe a draw in that one, then, and we do what we need to do, then we could be well on our way. But I'm with you. I'm with you, mate, in terms of what you said about, I would love us to kind of get qualified by the third or fourth game and then have those nice games, especially when the game's coming thick and fast. It'd be nice to have 2 games where we're just a bit more chill. We're playing some of our fringe players. Saka's got his feet up at home, chilling out. So's Jesus, and people like that, and we can just and we can kind of just chill out a little bit more because it does get quite intense, and we do have a lot more depth than before, but there still are sort of a few positions where you think, we get a little niggle there, a player here or there out, and if Jesus was to break down again, and Eddie Nketiah has a bad run of form, then that's an area that, for example, same with if Declan Rice got injured or had to miss game time. Although El Neni was on the bench yesterday, but
was he back on the bench?
Yeah, he was on the bench. Him and Cedric were on the bench last night, which was kind of a lot of people were kind of, when they were reading out the teams before kickoff, a lot of fans sort of looking at each other, grinning when Cedric's name, and he sort of got like a bit of a ironic cheer when his name was read out. But
poor guy, the poor guy. Should just
I don't feel sorry for him. Just go. I hate play. I mean, admittedly, we offered him the salary. It's on us to a degree, but I really don't like it when players kind of like just hang around like a bad smell. Like he's never going to get a game. He's not going to get any kind of football.
He might do it. If we get drawn against Grimsby away in the League Cup or something. I don't know. You can see him getting the game time there, but. I mean, if there's anything riding on a game, it's very difficult to see him getting the time. It's going to be tricky. So I've got one question for you. I know it's early days. We've just won 4-0. We've got to get out of the group.
But I know what you're going to say.
Can we win it? Can we?
Yeah. Why? Question I'd shoot back to you is why can't we win it? I'm not saying we will win it, but I see Arsenal up. I know when you look at our we're in pot 2 or whatever, and could have been in pot 3 if it wasn't for Juventus and blah blah blah. But when you think about it, we were runners up to one of probably the best club side in world football at the moment. We play in the strongest league by, let's be honest, the strength of the Premier League in the last 5 years has weakened.
It's gone up, isn't it?
It's weakening. The Italian league isn't what it was. The Spanish league, is still pretty good, but it's again, it's not the Spanish league of 10 years ago. So for me, the Premier League is so dominant now that if you're the team that finished second in the Premier League last season, you're some side. Like almost by default, that makes you one of the better club sides in world football. So my question back to you would be, why can't we? I mean, Inter Milan got to the final last year. No one would have foreseen that happening. I mean, AC Milan look bloody awful at the moment. They got to the semis. So I kind of look at it and go, well, I don't see why we can't. I think we can win it. I think we'll be in like a cluster of maybe 4 or 5 teams that will be among the favourites. I think City are probably still favourites, but Bayern. I've been watching a bit of highlights recently on Barcelona. They look absolutely on fire. João Felix looks really, really good for them at the moment, and Rafinha. And Bayern Munich obviously have got they're the Germans kind of always find a way, and they're a very good side. So I think the Bayern, Barcelona, Man City,
Real Madrid,
probably Arsenal and Madrid are probably like the 5 teams. I think the winner will probably come from one of those. I mean, and do you know what I love about Arsenal in this Champions League is that because we've been out of it for so long, I think sometimes I felt like the Premier League last season became a bit of a millstone around our neck, because I was like, oh, are we going to get over the line? What I love about the Champions League is, for us, from an Arsenal perspective, is no one's really expecting us to win it. The players are absolutely buzzing to be back. The crowd are buzzing to be back. I think that kind of stuff can kind of propel us forward. And if we do get to kind of say the quarterfinals or the semis, then you're sort of talking about kind of you're talking just a handful of games, just stepping up in like 3, 4, 5, 6 games of football, which you can do. So I actually think Arsenal probably slightly have a better chance than winning the Premier League. But I mean, back on you though for a second. Why can't we win it?
No, I think we can. I think we can, and I agree with the point that I think we've got probably a better chance of winning the Champions League. Do I think that, or am I just saying that? I think you need a little bit of luck. You need to make sure that you get drawn in a specific way. I mean, you alluded to it there. The two Milan teams, they managed to get through to the semis last year without being magnificent, and City won the final. So with a bit of luck, and we need to perform as well, I can see us getting to the semis at least. But I do think that there are a few teams. I wouldn't necessarily fear Bayern so much, I think, because I think Bayern would then try and play. But the other teams, obviously City, go without saying. But Madrid and maybe Barca, they're sort of attacking threat. I would, they would concern me slightly. But that's not to say. I mean, I look at the Barca lineup, and I know they won La Liga last year, but I look at their lineup and I think, yeah, that's not, it's not as strong as it used to be. You look at the midfield, and you look at the strike, you're like, okay, Lewandowski, all right, what is he, 35, 36 now? They brought in João Felix is it on loan? And then they've got Rafinha. It doesn't necessarily, I'm not too by that. I mean, their
attack is their defenders. I'm not that. They've got Christensen, Balde. Got Jules Koundé at the back, Cancelo, Gundogan, Frankie De Jong, Gavi, João Felix, Lewandowski's still scoring. He's still scoring plenty.
Yeah, you compare that to our team, like their midfield. And all right, I'd pick Odegaard over any of those of their midfielders. I'd pick Declan Rice over
Romeo.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I genuinely feel that we've probably got a better team than them, and I defensively we're certainly stronger than them. So I would say that we would probably be favourites for that. I think Madrid would, they would offer some resistance. I think Madrid, but then you're just looking at City really. So I think we're up there, and I think we can win it. And I think a lot depends now on what happens in the Premier League leading up to Christmas. We need to stay in the fight. If we hit a bad patch of form or something, because City have done the opposite to what they normally do in the Premier League, where they start slowly, but this time they've gone out like a train and played 5, won 5. And they are so efficient with it at the moment, and it's just they're like a train. It's just bosh. It's just done. So if they get like 6, 7, 8 points in front of us, it's going to be very difficult to overhaul that. But and if that happens, then I think obviously the Champions League offers the best route. But
I just think we're going to enjoy. I just think we're going to enjoy the game.
I think the pressure.
We're not. I don't think we're the kind of. No one's going to be talking about us, which I like. It was actually kind of what happened last season in the Premier League, and I just think we should go into these games and just bloody enjoy them. I mean, the group that we've been drawn in, there's no super easy groups. there's definitely easier groups. We're not in, having to do what Newcastle have done. And I think Premier League teams really, given how strong the Premier League, should always be qualifying out of these groups. I mean, Sevilla are a very good side, but PSV and Lens, like I'm not terrified of them. I mean, I'd be very disappointed if we don't finish the group first and this one. And then from that point, I mean, it would be not like for me. I want to get past the round of the second round, and then just go from there really. But I'm hoping Arsenal can just go into this game and just enjoy it. Go into this competition and just enjoy it, because we've not been in it for a while. It's a great competition. We've got young, hungry players, and just ride that wave as long as we can. And when we, if and when we do get to those final stages, the pressure will start to ramp up. But then, we're talking sort of fine margins at that point. But I certainly don't see why Arsenal can't make a good fist of it. To be honest, I don't. There's nothing to me that says we've got some good strength in depth. Young, hungry players are going to enjoy the ride. Pressure's completely off us. We go from there. I mean, City have already won it, so will they have the hunger? I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But I'm going to enjoy the Champions League games. I've decided I'm not going to feel nervous and tense. The Premier League games are the ones that kind of
I'll ask you that
most tense
time when we're away to long. So
yeah,
looking ahead, Spurs.
Yes.
Sunday. Couple of questions. So you've answered the one already. So we both think that Gabriel Jesus will start, and I think we've also probably answered the David Raya question. We think he's going to start as well. Are we feeling confident for the Spurs game? I got to say I am. I really do. After yesterday's performance, I think the group of players will be buzzing. I think they probably wait. I think if they given the option, they would probably be playing Spurs today if they had the choice.
Yeah, Joe, that thought actually did enter my mind yesterday. That if we'd gone out yesterday and had a nice, comfortable but unspectacular 2-1 or a 2-0 victory, I reckon the legs, ironically, even though we would have come off a victory, I think the legs would have felt a little bit heavier today. And then maybe Spurs would have, because for me, it's all the psychology. I mean, the players are still going to have those extra minutes in their legs from the Wednesday night. But I think, with the Everton game, we didn't really kind of get out of second gear. For the whole, pretty much 60 minutes of this game, we played kind of within ourselves to a degree. I don't believe we've expended. I don't think we're going to be out on our feet tired or anything on Sunday. That's the first thing. A lot of Spurs people probably go, you've had the game in midweek. But I think the way that we played and the vibe around last night's experience, the fact that we kept a clean sheet and the fact we put 4 goals in, we are going to be, like, to your point, can we play them right now? The player, this kind of victory is going to give the players a massive shot in the arm.
Yeah.
Essentially, and again, a lot of our top most injury prone, but also top players were given about half an hour's rest, so there should be plenty in the tank. And to be honest with you, I'm always confident against Tottenham at home. I mean, they've beaten us twice in about my lifetime. I mean, one day they're going to have to probably beat us. It may be this week, it may not, but they're in. I think they beat us in 1993. I remember Paul Dickoff scored for us, and I think they beat us in 2010 under Harry Redknapp or something like that. But they are in a good. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that they put 5 in away from home to Burnley. They were celebrating like they won the Champions League the other day when they got that dodgy 100. It was almost like it was almost like hold up the board and it says let's play until Spurs get a winner. They may as well have had that written on it. But yeah, feelings for the weekend. I mean, these games are always really nerve-wracking just because of what they stand for. And Tottenham are in a good, they are in a good sort of way at the moment in terms of form. But again, the narrative, it makes me laugh. The media narrative, there's always this Tottenham loving, in a lot of places like TalkSport, but people seem to forget that we've got better players than them. We're also undefeated this season. We have basically an identical record to Tottenham this season, except they've scored a few more goals than us. So, and we're at home, and we've got better players. I mean, but it's not going to be an easy game. I can't see it being like a walk in the park. But for me, it's all about how Postecoglou sets up. If he comes and plays sort of his expansive football, I think we'll win probably by 2 goals. But 2 clear goals. But if he does come and sort of try and do the counter-attacking thing, then I think that we might make it tough. So for me, it's almost how Tottenham set up that I think sort of dictates how this game goes, because all the story so far has been Postecoglou's front-footed coach, likes to play kind of expansive, fast-paced football, and I actually think that plays into our hands. I think if you come to the Emirates and play like that, like PSV did last night, you're going to get your ass kicked. But if they come and try and do an Everton against us, we might have a slightly turgid, nerve-wracking kind of experience.
I don't think they've got that in their locker to do that. I don't think they're coached in that way. I think, quite honestly, I think this is probably the perfect game for us right now. It's a good barometer and a good test for us to see where we're at. To see how consistent we can be. Yes, we put the points on the board, but now we're getting to the meat and bones of it. We've just done a Champions League game. We big game against Spurs now. But I will say this: I think Spurs are going to score. I think that's inevitable. I do think we're not going to keep a clean sheet. These games they're probably some of the most entertaining games there are in the Premier League. If you look at the fixture list, the North London derby, it never fails to produce drama and spectacle. It's going to be an emotional roller coaster. I know there's no Harry Kane, but I do think that they're going to get a goal. I think James Maddison is on fire at the moment. I think Son, he had that hat trick, but then a slight knock. But he might nick a goal against us. I think Son. So, but I'm expecting us to win. I really am, because I don't think Spurs are going to just sit back. I think they're going to try and have a go. And if that happens, I think we've got better players, and I think our players. Yeah. Trossard and Jesus and Saka and Odegaard. I think they're just gonna. They're gonna really. They're gonna take the game by the scruff of the neck. I can see it.
What do you make about that, though? I mean, if I was Postecoglou, I would be playing more conservative. I would actually be looking at this game and going, "We're playing Arsenal away. We can't go and be, come flying out the traps and try and." I mean,
I don't think they're going to come flying out the traps. I think what they're going to want to do, this is what I would do. If I was playing Arsenal, I'd go, right, we've got to keep it tight for the first 20 minutes, subdue the crowd. Because Arsenal are going to come flying out the blocks on Sunday. We are. And we're going to try and get that early goal, which will then put the impetus on them to sort of come out of the shell and start playing. And then if that happened, then we will I think we could batter them. But I think that they're going to have to sort of keep it tight for the first 20 minutes, half an hour. And as the game goes on, it'll be more about us trying to make things happen. And I think they've got the quality to get some goals on the counter. I don't think they're going to be dictating play. But I think the first 25 minutes or so will be key to this game as to how it pans out. If we can get a goal in that period, I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good for us. And good for the game as well, because nobody likes a boring game. We want it to be exciting, expansive. We want to be able to play our game, and I think for that to happen, we need Spurs to come out of their shell rather than just sort of sit there.
Yeah, I mean, let's get on to the
bold
predictions. I think. Yeah, I mean,
how do we do?
You've had a win yesterday. You've had Arsenal to win and score at least 2 goals. Obviously, we did that. We doubled that. And I had Vieira to start and have a goal involvement. So, yeah, I kind of felt Vieira would play yesterday. It just felt for me like lots of possession, not much physicality. Felt like it was, and I felt Vieira sort of deserved to start. So interesting to know. I kind of now think Havertz might start. People are saying, "Oh, I think Vieira's going to start against Tottenham." I think Havertz will start now. I think Arteta picked his lineup yesterday. Well, the starting lineup with not the finishing one, with who's gonna start on the weekend. So I think Havertz will start. But my prediction for this week is Arsenal to win by 2 clear goals. I've got a feeling it might be a 3-1 again.
Yeah, I got a feeling 3-1 as well. But what am I going to say? What do I want? What do I want?
I will say games like Sundays make me feel physically ill. I don't know what it is.
Watching them.
No, it's weird. Like, and it's not.
Why don't you just listen to it on the radio or something?
That might be easier, but I don't know what it is. It's not like I'm not even like super fearful of Spurs in any kind of different way than I would be another sort of middle of the road ambitionless club like them. But there's something about it. I don't know whether it's because I'm friends with a few Spurs fans that make me sort of like this, but I get a lot more. Maybe it's because they've become a bit better in the last few years. Whereas years gone by, you'd be looking at other teams and you go, "Oh, it's the derby. That'll be a nice atmosphere," but that was about it. But you'd know you'd win. But these North London derbies make me feel a bit more sort of wrought with emotion and nervousness before, for some reason. But then, the way we played away from home last season, the first half was absolutely fantastic. The control and how we did it absolutely blew them away. So, but I'm still. I think the fact we won 4-0 yesterday and played like we did is just that's going to be worth its weight in gold come Sunday. Yeah. I think if we'd won, like I say, 2-1 and played half decent yesterday, it wouldn't have really done anything for us. I think we'd be sitting there going, "God, that was a struggle." But that the level of belief we would have got from putting 4 past them is gonna be a big thing. I think it's going to be tough, like psychologically. For me.
Okay, here's my prediction. So Arsenal is an Arsenal win with a goal involvement from Gabriel Jesus.
Love it. I like that. I like it a lot.
Yes, I think he will start. He better bloody start now, otherwise I'm off. I've lost before I've even started. So that's it. I think a win with a Gabriel Jesus goal involvement, preferably not an own goal, but yeah.
I mean, I think as well. Like, even if we come into a lot of games before, like let's look at the Everton game, how it was very slow. I think the occasion that is a North London derby dictates that the players have to play to a certain level of intensity and tempo. And even when we've been in our most crap runs of form in the last 5 years, whenever we've come up against Spurs, the players do actually kind of, even though we've kind of littered with foreign players who weren't born and raised in the London borough of Islington, I think they still always come out and play with that kind of that idea that they know what it means for both sides, to be honest with you. So and the thing is, after this one, we've got Brentford in the Carabao Cup and Bournemouth away. So we can probably rest a few players in the week. So I feel like this is kind of the last game in like a little cluster of games. I'm hoping that we just put absolutely everything into this game, and then if we need to start with your Smith Rowes and your Vieiras and your Tomiyasus, and dare I say Ramsdale's in midweek against Brentford, I think that's where we'll go with that.
Yeah. So I think that wraps everything up, doesn't it?
I think so. It's going to be a big game Sunday. Looking forward to it.
Big game. So thanks everybody for watching. We hope you enjoy. Please obviously get your likes and subscribes and comments and stuff in, and we will reconvene, I think maybe Monday after the resounding victory against Spurs.
Fingers crossed. Enjoy, Gooners, and let's get a nice step on that ladder on the way to St. Totteringham's Day 2024.
Indeed. All right, guys. I'll see you later. See you.
See you soon, Gooners.
Bye-bye.